After last year's Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, the Soulsborne space has been fairly empty. Fans are eagerly anticipating From Software's Elden Ring and Bluepoint's Demon's Souls remake, but with no release in sight and little information on the horizon, some smaller developers are looking to fill the void. One such developer is Cradle Games, with a title called Hellpoint, a typical Soulsborne game filled with all the tropes you've come to expect from the genre, such as interconnected level design, challenging combat, monstrous creatures, and currency that's lost on death until retrieved. This is paired with a unique sci-fi setting that attempts to bring a new style and theme to the genre, but is ultimately impeded by its many technical hiccups. Hellpoint tries to avoid the stereotypical gothic medieval theme found in so many other Soulsborne games. Instead, it opts for a sci-fi setting, opening many opportunities for variation, such as extraterrestrial environments filled with otherworldly technology and intergalactic monsters. Enemy designs are unique and vibrant, with some sporting sheets of metal pierced through their bodies and neon accents giving them a clear place in the alien world. You might expect this design philosophy to carry on to the game's choice of weaponry, but unfortunately in this aspect, Hellpoint bears too close a resemblance to its inspiration. The arsenal at your disposal ends up falling short of the potential afforded by its setting by playing it too safe. Most weapons in Hellpoint end up being variations of those seen in the games that inspired it. Weapons such as the axe, sword, and dagger all hail from the myriad titles in the genre, and this one fails to shake up the formula. These weapons feel the same to use as in other games, so it's somewhat of a relief that the three enemy types the game pits you up against offer at least some aesthetical variation to the uninspired combat loop. The combat is also let down by many technical issues, such as extreme frame rate drops and inaccurate hitboxes, causing unfair deaths and an uncomfortable feeling combat loop that offers frustration above all else. This can be extremely annoying when facing off against bosses, which themselves are aesthetically pleasing but are hindered by the poor combat design. Bosses each have a unique aesthetic, but none are tailored to a specific location. Instead, each one feels as though they were scattered across the game on the roll of a dice. The same applies to their attacks and combat patterns, which are reused throughout the game, the only exception being a few late game bosses which change up the formula by adding new moves. For a genre that relies so heavily on intricately designed bosses, it's a shame Hellpoint fails to deliver in that aspect. Technical issues run rampant throughout the experience, hindering not only the bosses but the ability to advance through the game at all. Many areas become difficult to progress through due to glitches and a lack of environmental polish. During my time playing, there were instances of traversal systems being completely unusable and optional areas being inaccessible. This lack of polish became even more apparent when key gameplay systems were underexplained. Then there's the pacing of the gameplay. Enemies are thrown at you en masse with the seeming intention to overwhelm you. This design choice succeeds only in frustrating the player with a barrage of hacking and slashing rather than providing a well-paced and considerate challenge. The game suffers many issues, and while it shines in certain aspects such as world design, which uses its branching hallways and maze-like structure to invite exploration, it falls short once again in storytelling. The story lends itself to cliché, made worse by extended periods of time with no narrative development. This is a shame, as Cradle Games has created a compelling lore for this world. It's hard to dismiss the notion that a much more intriguing story could have been told. The game follows typical Soulsborne design philosophies, with interwoven areas that are connected over time, which feels satisfying to return to later on as you gain that familiar gratification of opening a locked door and cutting your travel time in half. Each area, from a derelict downtown district to a hellish government complex, is uniquely designed with a different atmosphere. This keeps the environments fresh with a wide range of visuals. Hellpoint's captivating vision of a futuristic sci-fi Soulsborne shines in a few areas, but retreats into its source of inspiration in others. On one hand, it delivers an enticing alien world inhabited by dark fantasy-style creatures that are unlike anything seen before. But this vision is hindered due to a repetitive combat loop, both in and out of boss fights, paired with extremely frustrating technical issues that make certain parts unplayable. Combine all that with a story that feels uninspired and devoid of any depth, and Hellpoint swings big but ultimately misses the mark.